All right. Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hello, hello.
It's Brittany and Ryan here, and I'm excited. We have put off recording this for, gosh, I think we said like 3 weeks ago that we were like, we need to record our story because so many people have asked us, why Texas? What made you want to move there? And I think we've been giving a lot of surface answers that seem easy, and we're excited to just kind of take some time and break down the real true story and get totally vulnerable and share. So where do we even start?
Start in Oregon.
Start in Oregon. It's funny. So let's start with we built our dream home on a piece of ground that it was always my dream to build on. And my parents had owned the property and they made it so that we could have it, we could build on it. So there was just so much heart tied to that piece of property and that ground, and it was just like a dream come true. And we built our home. We moved in 2017, and
I think that's key to say that it was a dream come true. We'll come back to that.
yeah, it was
Dream come true.
Yes, our dream that we thought about. We manifested it. We spent so much time and energy creating it. We put so much work, heart, soul, everything into it, and we did it. We did it. We created the dream. And then I remember when we built it, we even joked and told our builder, like, yeah, now that it's done, we're going to sell it. And we joked about it then, like just as kind of this absurd thing. But now looking back, I really think there was something subconsciously inside of us that said that we're not going to stay there for forever.
Which is crazy because when we built it, we literally built it to die there. It was one level. There was no transitions. Had wide hallways for stretchers. I mean, these are the things.
We're like, we can get a wheelchair in there.
These are the things that we thought of when we were building it.
Yeah.
Because we were never, ever going to move anywhere.
Mm-mm.
We built it.
I thought I want to raise our kids exactly the way that I grew up, which is an interesting thing to challenge because we oftentimes repeat what we know. And what I knew was growing up in a beautiful home in the country where you could have space and freedom to run and play and have horses and motorcycles and all the things. And I thought that that was the very best way to raise my kids because that was how I grew up. And it was really, I had an amazing childhood. So I thought that that was the ultimate success. And I was 30 years old. I turned 30 right before we moved in, the month before. You were 37. Yeah, almost 37, 36, turned 37 later, or 38 maybe. But yeah, our kids were little and that was our dream come true. And we moved in, only to 5 years later be selling it to move to Texas. And so how did that come about? Because you would think so many people were baffled. Some people were angry that we decided to move.
There was a lot of emotions around us.
There was a lot of emotions, a lot of
from family or friends or just people we knew
in the community
in town. We lived in a really small town, so a lot of people knew us just because we grew up there.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to see people's emotions around what we decided to do for our life.
Yeah.
And which direction we decided to go with our life because maybe they thought it. Obviously, it isn't for them.
Obviously, something was triggered inside of them that we were making this choice in our life too. So that's really interesting is how could us making a decision for our life create such
a
reaction in others? It was so interesting. So about a year ago, we were at our national convention in Atlanta. It was kind of a weird convention, just, coming off of COVID and then the restrictions coming back up. So it was interesting. And one of the coaches on our team actually lived in Arlington, Texas. And she's in her 60s, I think, right? Raised her kids here in Texas.
Kids are out of college.
And she was like, oh yeah, you guys just totally seem like Texas. But I guess backing up.
She said we seem like Colleyville.
Yeah.
You guys totally seem like Colleyville.
But it's funny, so backing up even a little bit from that is Ryan and I would joke around about, we're moving. We would just throw it out there, just kind of like, for kind of an inflammatory response, I think, from people. And I remember my mom being like, well, Ryan said you guys are going to move to Florida. Is he joking? Like, it kind of worried people, and I don't know why we did that. I'm not sure why. I think we were...
It must have been it's probably something in our subconscious brain that we had this desire, because Brittany grew up in the same small town as I did. It was a little town. We never moved anywhere. We always lived there. We grew up there. But we always had this...
Like desire?
Yeah, this desire to go.
and to move away
But
and
we never
experience
did.
life somewhere else. We love traveling, and now looking back, hindsight is always 2020. I remember wanting to go away to college, and that thought was really hard for me because I'm so close to my mom, and she was like, no, you can't leave, like that would be horrible. And so it just never was the right time. And I thought, well, it wouldn't have been the right time for me to go by myself. And Ryan, it would have been the right time for him to go by himself when he was younger. God knew that we needed to be partners in this life together with our family to make it, easier for us to go and leave everything we've ever known. And that's really scary. And I have also realized that I've really just kind of pushed down the significance of the choice that we've made in our life, because I think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. But you know what? It is a really big deal to first even acknowledge the desire, to move forward with it, to work through the challenges. Because like we said, there was a lot of unhappiness around our decision. And we had to know in our heart that we were doing what we were called to do. Right? So, okay, backing up, Ryan and I were like, what if we did ever move? And I thought, my parents will be so upset. We have a house right next to them. They gifted us this ground that we built our home on. This is going to be like World War III.
They might never talk to you again.
They are going to. Well, and it's so funny because, as a parent, we have 2 children. We know that our kids could never do anything to make us not love them. But then when you're in the child position and you're thinking about disappointing your parents, I had such massive guilt around that. And it was so hard. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I am going to be the ultimate disappointment to my parents. But I also knew that I felt so called to leave that staying would have bigger consequences, in life than going and being obedient. So Ryan and I talked about, well, what if we did ever leave? Where would we go? And Ryan's like, Florida, because he loves Florida. And I said, I'm not moving to Florida. And he goes, well, where do you think we should go? And I said, I think Texas. I feel Texas in my gut. That's the right state. And it's so funny because we even had friends and people in our life that are like, well, why not Idaho? Why not Tennessee? And I was like, no. And so you can't ignore that gut feeling, that intuition, that inner knowing of where you're feeling called. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt, it was Texas. And then you were like, yep, it's Texas.
And I was on board with Texas. I love Texas. I like Florida. We talked about Arizona. We had a certain criteria of places we would want to live, like what's good to raise kids, what's good for business, what's good for taxes. There's so many things.
Politics, what are the values of the state that you live in?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be one of our, because people said, well, how did you even start? We started with what we want. What do we want our life to look like? What kind of area do we want to live in? Like Ryan said, politically, what do we want it to be like? Value wise, what does that state value? What does the government there value? What do the people that live there value? Weather, yeah. We wanted warm, and so we go, oh my God, it's so hot there. Yeah.
Couple months of the year.
Yeah, it is hot here. You know what? It's okay. And what were some other things? We wanted to be close to certain things. We wanted great schools for our kids in a public school system because we wanted to try that out. And so those things really helped us narrow down that criteria. And also then we made a quick trip out here, just get our feet on the ground. I remember my dad was having open heart surgery right before we came out here. We didn't tell anybody we were coming to Texas. We just came out for 2 or 3 nights. We met an amazing realtor through a Facebook group. So it's so funny how God creates these connections. So that would be my other piece of advice is be aware and pay attention to the people that you're encountering throughout your day. So many times something comes up for somebody and they are instantly skeptical about it because that's your programming. But you need to become aware of, why is this being placed in my day? Especially if you're a person of faith or you believe in spiritual energy or divine order or whatever it is that you believe. There is an order to things and there's a reason why things come into your life. And so you have got to pay attention to them, whether they're obstacles, blessings, challenges, people. Pay attention to the things that you're encountering.
One thing I've always done that we continue to do now is if we have a desire for something, or say you have a desire for something in your mind and you think that's crazy, but just take the next step towards going to that. And like when you were just talking about spirit, universe, God, we call it God. God will either open up a door for you or he will close a door for you. I fully believe that you just keep going towards what you want. And if it's supposed to happen, you can't stop it from happening. And if it's not supposed to happen, there's nothing you can do that's going to make it happen.
Yeah. And so we felt this desire. And even before we came to Texas, before like to look around, I started kind of, like I said, I started kind of like researching some groups, researching areas, getting into Facebook groups, asking questions. That's where I met our amazing realtor. But even before that, I remember I had a routine of being in some quiet time every morning and praying, getting into gratitude. And that was always my time to really just like connect with spirit, connect with myself, connect with God, and really listen. And when I say listen, I don't mean that you're going to hear something audibly, like a voice out of the sky. Like, that's not how I hear from God, but through the thoughts that are coming up in my mind that aren't my own thoughts that I'm creating, but just things that come into my mind. I believe that God talks to us through inspiration and ideas that we have that he gives us. And I remember that we were working on some things just like financially, like cleaning some stuff up, and I just felt like we weren't in alignment with what we were supposed to be doing. And I was just praying about it. And I was like, God, I know that you have something for us. I don't know what it is, but like, I'm listening. I am open to receiving it. And the thought that came into my head was, give up everything I have given you and go. And I thought, does he want me to like sell my car? Like, maybe we should like pare down and get lean and like just get really disciplined and just do that and be really lean in our lives. But like, no, what he was saying is, the biggest dream that you had, I challenge you to just sacrifice it, to give it up, to sell it. And you know what? I realized through the process, and I would have said before, I'm not a materialistic person. I had so much of my identity wrapped up in my home and where I lived. I don't know if you did as much, but I definitely did. And because I felt like people would come to our home and be like, oh my gosh, wow, you guys built this. And I kind of liked that, honestly. I mean, if I'm just being completely honest, that it was kind of like, yeah, like I was so proud of it, and not in a way of being like, I'm better than anybody, but I was so proud of what we had accomplished. And I loved kind of, I guess, that recognition. And so it was so challenging to give that up. Like, that was a process. And I think that's probably why it took so long to sell the house, is because I still had so many ties and attachments to it.
And I think it was, getting back to the dream, it was this dream that we had for years and years. We planned and thought and prayed and worked for what we had, and now we're thinking about giving it up. How could we give that up? It was everything we always wanted.
Yeah.
That was a big challenge.
It was a big challenge. And I love this thought, and I tell people this all the time, is you can always change your mind. Just because maybe you have a career or a relationship in your life, or you know, where you live, and you thought that that's what you always wanted, but then now you're just not in alignment with that anymore. That's not what you're doing, is not in alignment with the future that you want to create. It's okay to change your mind and to release that. It's always okay to change your mind and go in another direction. So that's really, I guess, what we did. And I think that's why it really is like baffled so many people. I am definitely one to care more about what people think. I want people to be happy with me. I don't want people to be mad at me. I don't like to be misunderstood. Ryan doesn't care. He doesn't care.
I'm happy doing what I want to do. And if somebody else doesn't like it, that's fine.
It's fine. So we made the decision. We came to Texas. We got our feet on the ground, and when we landed and we got in our rental car and we started driving, we just looked at each other. We're like, oh, we love it.
We're here.
We love it. And it was funny because there was this piece of us, this future that we could see that was so compelling, and we could feel that it was just like pulling us forward. And then there was this stuff that was in our current life, and these dreams that we had in our family, and all this stuff that was like, I feel like I had so much guilt that was just like pulling me back of like, how can we move forward, or how is that going to work, or how am I going to tell my parents? And I remember we were coming home, we were in the airport, and my mom called me or something, and I don't know how, I can't even.
She knew we were in Texas, though.
Yeah, she knew we were in Texas.
She didn't know what for.
No.
And this was August 2021.
Oh, I think she knew that we were coming to check it out. And then I told her, because made an offer on a house while we were here. I think I had said, we're just going to look to see what we think. And we had made an offer on a house, and I think that was like she knew that we were going to move, and my parents weren't happy. Just, I mean, to say it lightly, and my mom would admit that. She'd be like, yeah, it was shocking. And everything's fine now, and they're supportive now, but it's been a year, but it's a process. And so I think that too, we need to allow people to have their feelings and work through their grief, because I think that's really what it was kind of this grief cycle of like anger and then sadness and then acceptance. And then my mom actually just left. She was here this last week with my niece, and she was like, your house is beautiful. Like, I can totally see why you wanted to move here. And so moving into that acceptance and joy, and she hates that I don't live by her, but she understands. And so even when people in your life might not have the reaction in the beginning that you're hoping for, like, just save space for that and let them have their feelings and give them space and give them time. And don't react. Just say, you know, thank you for loving me so much, because that's really where it comes from. Comes from fear. It comes from truly actually love and caring. But sometimes we just don't express things always the best in the beginning.
I think it's also important to remember that when you have a goal or you have a desire that there's something you want to do in your life, you have to stick to your guns, because there's so many opportunities that are going to come up where you can just say, oh, yeah, it wasn't meant to be. My mom is really mad at me, so forget it.
It can't be right.
Can't be right. Or, oh, our house won't sell. It's been 3 weeks and it's not sold. Or it's been 6 months. It's been 9 months. It's been a year. Mm-hmm. But just holding the image of exactly what you want in your mind and not giving up on it. Yeah. Just keep moving forward. Like I said earlier, keep taking steps towards what your desired outcome is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we came home. We got our house ready. We put it on the market.
August 2021.
Yeah. And I think it went on the market in September. And we thought, oh man, I thought it's such a unique property. It's a new home. It's beautiful acreage. It's right on the edge of town. Who would not want this place? Somebody's going to scoop it up like that. And we were under contract on a place in Texas for 60 days. We had a 60-day contract, a contingency to sell our house. And
because we knew for sure our house was going to be sold in 60 days and we would have this place tied up in Texas and it would be an easy transition. We just moved down. We weren't even going to sign the kids up for sports because we knew we were out of there. We knew.
I was leaving. Like, should we really even enroll our kids into school? Should they even start school? Because we're probably going to move in a couple weeks. And it was like, yes, let's just get them in there and whatever. Well, people came and looked at it. Not one offer. Everybody said how beautiful it was. Yeah, it's worth the price. It's so beautiful. And it was just, a couple months in, I told Ryan, I said, I just feel like something's off. I just don't understand, but like something wasn't working. And then, 5 months in, we had given up the other house in Texas. We had broken our contract because 90 days in, we still hadn't sold. And so we had our house for sale. We were fully committed to selling it and moving to Texas, but we had nowhere to go. We didn't have a house on the line. We had no idea how it was going to work out, but we would have moments. I remember I told Ryan, I was like, I'm just like depressed. I don't know what's going on. So to say that it was easy now that we're here would be a complete lie, because there was so many times that it was really hard and there was a lot of tears. I remember specifically one time I was sitting in the bathtub and Ryan was sitting outside the bathtub and we were just talking, and I was crying and I said, I don't get it. I just feel this is depressing. I don't know what's going on. This is so hard. And he goes, Britt, you like to know what's going on, and you like it to all be wrapped up without an unknown. And I thought there's so much value in speaking your truth and then having somebody in your corner that knows you, that says, well, of course that's how you feel, because this is the way that you would like it to be. And so that was really helpful, to have a partner. And we would have to do a check-in with each other and say, are you still in? Are we sure that this is what we're supposed to be doing? And we would have to check in with each other, because we did have moments of doubt. Like
multiple times. I mean, we would say, are you still all in? Yeah, I'm still all in. Are you still all in? Yeah, I'm still all in. Okay.
We'd ask our kids, you guys still in for Texas? Yeah, we want to go. Okay, let's keep moving forward. And yeah, and then we our friends decided we're moving to Tennessee. And we were like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna sell our house. And they are in real estate. And my friend told me, Brittany, why don't you just sell your house yourself? And I said, well, because we have our realtor. She's great. She's doing everything she can. It's not like she's doing something wrong or like that she's bad or anything like that. But she was like, Brittany, you know that house inside out. You should just sell your house yourself. And I was like, I don't know. Like I felt, well, the price tag, I don't think I'm equipped to do that.
And we've sold property for sale by owner before, so it wasn't completely out of left field that we could do it, but we just thought with the size of the property and for some reason we just didn't think that we could do it.
We didn't feel equipped to do it. And so that's the other thing is like, be willing to be uncomfortable and maybe try something, especially if it keeps coming up. And my friend kept telling me, she kept saying, Brittany, just sell your house yourself. Just do it. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And so then I just felt such an urging that was the direction that we were supposed to move in. And so had a conversation with our realtor and, said, you're amazing. I just feel like we need to go in a different direction. And that's really hard too, I have to say, is because never ever is it easy when you feel like you might hurt someone's feelings or they're not going to understand your reasonings. But that is also, you have to put that stuff to the side because you need to move forward in obedience to what you're feeling led to do. And we know that when we move out of obedience in our life, it's always for the highest good for all people, all people involved, even if we don't understand what that is. And so my friend helped me. She was like, let's just kind of rearrange some things in your house. This is what I think you should do. This is what I think. Freshen it up. You need a new look. You got to rebrand the look of your house. And so we did. We totally, she helped us move some things around. She was like, I got a great photographer. So they came and took new pictures of our home. And within 6 weeks, we were under contract with this amazing family that Ryan was talking to a guy and he was like, my friends are looking for a house. And then another person not married to this guy was like, hey, our friends are looking for a house. And it was the same couple that both people were talking about. So such a God thing.
Mm-hmm. So one person reached out to me about it and then not connected anyway, another person reached out to Brittany about it. Mm-hmm. And these people were talking about the same couple that were looking for a house and ended up buying our house.
And I remember telling our realtor the whole time, like, I hate how impersonal this is because our home was it just wasn't just a home. It was a dream that, was just we were so attached to it. And so it felt so impersonal to me that people were coming through my home that I didn't even get to talk to. I didn't know it was just like, it just wasn't a fit for us. And so what was so cool is this gal reached out and they have a son and a daughter. And, did this work? Let's save that. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties on our podcast. And we're gonna... Okay, we're back. Whoopsies. So I'm gonna put Do Not Disturb on here. Hold on. Okay, whatever. It'll work. Okay. So this gal and her kids, they're like, we really want to get our kids into Sandiam Christian. Well, that's where our kids went. And I believe that when a space is open, the next thing comes in to fill it. And so this was this amazing couple with a boy and a girl, their dog, and this was like a dream for them to move into our house. And we said, we built this home as our dream, but we built it for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Like we just felt like that. And they did not have a realtor, and it was such a personal experience. It was so easy. It was so amazing. And it's funny because I even heard rumblings around that like people were annoyed that we weren't using them as a realtor. And I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy. It's just so funny how people have so many attachments to what other people do. And I'm like, you don't have any rights to my home. This is my home that we're selling and we get to do it our way. And you know what? We just had to accept that people aren't going to be happy with us. I don't know why. If you're someone that is unhappy because people are making choices in their life, like, get a freaking reality check.
Yeah, question why it matters what another person wants to do or is doing to you. Meaning, if somebody decides to do something, why do you have an emotion about that?
Yeah, like it literally...
It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, even
it has everything to do with them.
You're a realtor and your best friend is selling their home and they decide not to use you. Like, tough. I mean, obviously for a reason. I mean, maybe get curious and ask and just say, hey, I have no attachment to it, but I'm just curious why you didn't use me. You know, because people have their reasons for things. And so maybe it's a learning lesson instead of being offended by what somebody else decides to do in their life. That would be one piece of advice I would give. So we sold our house. It worked out amazing. We ended up buying a house from another great family. So we moved into this space as they were moving away. And we didn't plan on being in a neighborhood. We didn't plan on having a garage that both cars don't fit in. There's all these funny little transactional things. But you know what? God delivered us to the perfect place. And we have really great neighbors. We have a really great community. Our kids are going to a brand new school that's in our neighborhood. They start this week. And we feel really thankful. And I'm so glad that we were open to what God had for us, because otherwise we would have, when we're not willing to be flexible and move where we feel called, it's really, it's hard because you're fighting the plan, if you will.
And it's amazing to see what can change and what can happen in 12 months. So we came down here 12 months ago, looking.
It feels like 5 years ago.
There's been a lot of water under that bridge.
So
we came down looking for an area to live. We knew we wanted to be in the Dallas.
We never even looked at this neighborhood.
Never looked at this neighborhood, never heard of it. Found a place that fell through. Couldn't sell our house. Finally sold it. Made an offer on a place down here. Didn't accept it. Made an offer on this place. Accepted it. Moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So 12 months later, full circle, we're here. The kids are in sports. We're in a neighborhood which we would have never told you we would have been in a neighborhood. We love it. We had friends over last night. Our next door neighbors, they're great.
Awesome, yeah.
We have so many friends already just on our street alone, let alone anybody else we've met. Mm-hmm. And so it's amazing when you just continue to move forward and keep pointing towards the direction you want to take your life, where you can be if you stick with it and just keep moving through the obstacles.
Yes, and you know, I would say too, I felt a duty to record this, and so you'll see this on our YouTube channel. You can find this podcast on Spotify if you want to listen, because I had people who are just a little bit younger than us say, are you going to record your story? Because we really want to listen to it. We want to know the ins and outs. We want to hear the vulnerable side of it, the challenges, because our story matters, because there's people out there that are contemplating moving the town that they've lived in their whole life, that their whole family is in. Do you know how many people have told us, oh, I wish I could move, but our family's here? You know what? I'm going to tell you to challenge that thought. Just challenge that thought, because start the conversation with your family. Maybe they'd be willing to go. Ryan's mom, she came down with us. My parents, that's probably not in their future. Not right now, right? I never say never to anything. But stop limiting yourself because of a belief that you have, because you think that somebody might not be happy with it, because it's scary, because it is scary and it's going to be hard. But I guarantee you it's going to be worth it. If you feel a desire pulling you forward, you have got to act, because you have one life that you get to live, and you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the future generations of your family to create the life that you desire. Because what if you don't move? That was the thing, is we were like, what is our kids' lives going to look like if we don't move?
Because we questioned it.
Big time.
I mean, we had a year to question it.
What about our grandchildren? What opportunities are they going to have if we never move? What about their children? Like, it doesn't just start and stop with you. It's the generations that your family is going to continue to just, bring forward. So.
And it isn't just exclusive to moving. Maybe it's just a big decision in your life. Maybe it's whether you need to leave that job that's comfortable and start a business that you've been really wanting to do. Yeah. Maybe you
finally are going to take control of your life and your health. That's a really hard one for a lot of people. They don't think they can. But like you said, maybe it's a job. You know what? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a relationship that you need to do some shifting in. And I don't just mean relationship like in a marriage, but maybe your marriage needs some work. Maybe you need to get down and get gritty with your spouse.
Maybe you need to have a frank conversation with someone that says, this is where we are. We have to acknowledge where we are, and I don't like it. Do you like it? And then move forward from there. Mm-hmm. But it seems like you have to
get really
you have to be very uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable on exactly what you really want, because these are hard decisions. These are life decisions.
Yeah, it is. You know, and maybe it's your parenting. Maybe you feel like your kids are out of control, but you're like, I don't know what to do. Well, seek wisdom from people who might know what to do.
Not knowing what to do is only an excuse.
Yeah.
Don't be lazy.
Like, well, I just don't know. Okay, you don't know,
Learn.
so fucking figure it out.
That's the great thing about being the highest form of God's creation, is we get to learn. We do not run on instincts like a dog.
No.
If you don't know something, learn it. It's out there.
Resources are unlimited. You can find anything you're looking for. So where you feel the desire in your life, we want to challenge you today to really move forward. And, you know, we're so thankful that we have people that had more wisdom than we did, that spoke into our lives at different times. We have friends that would just even say little like nuggets, like people who are older than us. I remember one of our friends said, you guys are going to completely expand when you move, because nobody's going to know who you are. Nobody's going to know who your family is, and you get to show up however you want. And that was like just such a time. It was last, I think, September, where like our house wasn't selling, and we just needed that life just spoken over us. And I don't even think our friend understood like what a gift that was. Our friends who moved to Tennessee just encouraging us and like giving us that confidence that we could move forward and sell our house, and that we had everything it took to be able to do that.
And the thing is, you never know who you're affecting too. I think it was reciprocal to our friends.
Oh yeah, because I think that us moving, they were like, you're seriously gonna move? And the next thing we know, they're like, we're moving. And
it's not about us moving made them move. It's not about that. It's about they are moving their life, no pun intended, into a direction where they want to be. And you know, just the idea of us moving, or maybe just a conversation sparked something in them that thought, you know what, we're going to take the next step to getting out of here also.
Yeah, because when you act in your desires and you follow your dreams, you are giving other people permission to do the same. And there's nothing more powerful than that. And I think that's probably where we should wrap it up. Is I really want to encourage you to investigate those desires of your heart. We get so busy with the daily things of life. So take 5-10 minutes and sit down and think about those things that have maybe been pulling at you, those things that have been urging you. Sit down with your spouse, sit down with somebody that you can trust with these conversations, because I hate to say it, but sometimes the people closest to you can't trust with your dreams and your desires. So get with someone who you know you can trust. We are that person for a lot of people. So you need someone that can help you move forward in your life, that you can trust to do that. And so I encourage you to just maybe jot some things down and think about, if I was ready to move forward, what would be the next right step for me to take? And then it will just unfold for you.
Yeah, I encourage you to sit quietly